Victor Gyökeres breaks his silence after Arsenal debut and responds to Roy Keane's criticism. Victor Gyökeres has finally spoken out following his much-anticipated Premier League debut for Arsenal, a tightly contested 1-0 victory over Manchester United at Old Trafford. The Swedish striker arrived in North London this summer after a sensational spell at Sporting, where he racked up an astonishing 97 goals in 102 appearances. Brought in by Mikel Arteta to be the Gunners' go-to forward, expectations were high from the start. His arrival even sparked interest from Manchester United, where he could have reunited with former coach Ruben Amorim, but it was Arsenal who secured his signature. On Sunday, Gyökeres was handed his first Premier League start. While the team came away with all 3 points, the striker struggled to impose himself and was subbed off in the second half. Despite that, his mindset remains positive. A proud moment to make my Premier League debut for this special club and start the season with a win, Gyökeres wrote on Instagram the following day, sharing photos from the match with a red heart emoji. But not everyone was impressed. Former Manchester United captain and Sky Sports pundit Roy Keane was quick to criticise his performance. He didn't look sharp. You could see flashes of his physical presence, but his decision-making in the final third was lacking, Keane said bluntly. Former England striker Daniel Sturridge echoed Keane's thoughts, noting the difference in tempo and pressure compared to the Portuguese league. The Premier League is a different beast. At Sporting, he had more time and space. Today, he was rushed, and it showed. Still, not all feedback was critical. Micah Richards, ex-Manchester City defender and fellow pundit, saw potential in the 27-year-old. He has all the tools to succeed here. He just needs time to adjust. The Premier League can be unforgiving, but once he settles into Arsenal's system, he'll thrive. Arteta stands behind his striker. After the match, Mikel Arteta addressed Gyökeres' performance in his post-match press conference, acknowledging that the team hadn't quite played to the striker's strengths. He actually did a lot of things really well, Arteta said. Especially with our high pressing and intensity, he was right there. But in terms of linking up play and getting into goal-scoring positions, we didn't quite give him the service he needed. Arteta went on to explain that Arsenal failed to play through the lines quickly enough to get Gyökeres into dangerous areas. Their transitions were slow, often missing the perfect timing to unleash the striker's movement in behind the defence. In the final third, he didn't get many chances because the ball never arrived. The backline was set 40 metres from goal and we didn't manage to stretch them, he added. But overall, going to Old Trafford and starting your Arsenal career with a win, that's a solid first step. A long season ahead. Gyökeres may not have exploded onto the scene in his debut, but both the club and fans understand that patience is key. The raw qualities, power, movement, and work ethic, are all there. And while Premier League adaptation takes time, the belief in his long-term impact is unwavering. If Sunday was a quiet beginning, the rest of the season promises to be a louder story, one that could turn Victor Gyökeres into a key figure in Arsenal's title charge. Victor Gyökeres breaks his silence after Arsenal debut and criticism from Roy Keane. Victor Gyökeres, Arsenal's new striker, faced a tough first game for the Gunners but remains optimistic about his future at the club. Despite struggling to make a significant impact during Arsenal's 1-0 win against Manchester United, Gyökeres shared his thoughts on what was still a positive day for the team. Arriving from Sporting Lisbon this summer, Gyökeres was brought in to be a reliable goalscorer. Although he started the match at Old Trafford, he was substituted in the second half after a quiet performance. Speaking on Instagram, he expressed pride in making his Premier League debut and helping the team start the season with a victory. Former Manchester United midfielder Roy Keane was critical of Gyökeres, noting that while the striker showed physicality, he lacked precision in the final third. Similarly, former players like Daniel Sturridge pointed out that the Premier League's intensity demands quicker decisions, something Gyökeres will need to adapt to. On the other hand, Micah Richards highlighted Gyökeres' potential and emphasised that with time to adjust, he could thrive in England. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta acknowledged that the team didn't fully utilise Gyökeres during the match but remains hopeful about his contributions going forward. Arteta praised the striker for several positive aspects of his play, but admitted they need to work on giving him more quality service and chances in attacking positions. Gyökeres' debut was a learning moment for both player and team. While his immediate impact was limited, his physical presence and work ethic have already earned respect in the dressing room. His teammates recognise his effort, and the coaching staff believes that with patience and adjustment, he will become a key part of Arsenal's attack. The path ahead won't be easy, but early signs suggest Gyökeres has the qualities to succeed. The real test will be how quickly he adapts to the pace and style of the Premier League and how Arsenal adjust their tactics to get the best out of him. In the end, this quiet start could lay the groundwork for something much bigger, a powerful striker helping Arsenal challenge for top honours once again. Arsenal could secure a surprising £100 million transfer windfall with 7 deals before deadline. With the summer transfer window entering its final 2 weeks, Arsenal is finally shifting focus toward offloading several fringe players before the September 1st deadline. So far, the club hasn't sealed any major sales this summer, their attention now squarely on player departures rather than arrivals. To date, only Marquinhos and Nuno Tavares have left, moving to Cruzeiro and Lazio respectively, and combined they've brought in less than £10 million. That's a far cry from last summer, when Arsenal made nearly 10 times that amount by selling Aaron Ramsdale, Eddie Nketiah, and Emile Smith-Rowe. This time around, Arsenal finds itself in a weaker negotiating position, facing limited interest in their squad players and pressure to find deals for multiple secondary squad members. In fact, 6 first-team players weren't even included in the Premier League opener against Manchester United. Among them, Albert Sambi Lokonga, Fabio Vieira, and Karl Hein didn't feature in pre-season friendlies after returning from loans elsewhere last season. Sevilla had the option to sign Lokonga permanently, but passed up the chance after thigh injuries hampered his spell in Spain. Hein was a regular at Real Valladolid until a shoulder injury sidelined him for several matches in the spring. Rumour has it Levante showed interest, but only for another loan, not a permanent transfer. Meanwhile, Stuttgart is actively negotiating over Vieira after his positive return to Porto. There are also whispers of talks with Porto about Jakub Kiwior's future. Kiwior, along with Leandro Trossard, Alexander Zinchenko, and Reiss Nelson, could all be on their way out of Arsenal for good. Fulham is reportedly keen on re-signing Nelson, while clubs across Europe and the Premier League are linked with Trossard and Zinchenko. Together, these 7 players represent a market value just over £100 million. Arsenal now faces the crucial task of converting their potential into real funds in the closing days of the transfer window. If they can successfully offload this group, it could pave the way for a major signing to inject fresh quality into the squad. The pressure is mounting on Arsenal's management and sporting director to act swiftly. Failure to offload these players could stall new signings, limiting Mikel Arteta's ability to strengthen the squad ahead of a demanding Premier League campaign. With the clock ticking, negotiations are expected to intensify, with agents and clubs eager to finalize deals before the deadline. Beyond the immediate financial benefits, these sales are crucial for squad balance. Clearing out surplus players will free up valuable wage space, allowing Arsenal to pursue key targets who can address the team's tactical needs and inject fresh energy. It also sends a clear message about the club's ambitions and professionalism, signaling a clean slate and renewed focus. Fans have expressed mixed feelings. While some are anxious to see familiar faces depart, others are optimistic about the potential arrivals a successful summer could bring. The transfer window isn't just about business, it shapes the identity and momentum of the club for the entire season. On a broader scale, Arsenal's activity will be closely watched by rivals. A strong finish to the window could shift the balance of power in the Premier League, challenging top teams and reigniting Arsenal's pursuit of silverware. Conversely, a quiet window might deepen questions about the club's direction and competitiveness. Ultimately, the next 2 weeks will define Arsenal's summer, a high-stakes game of strategy, negotiation, and ambition. Should they succeed in turning these 7 players into £100 million, the club won't just have made smart business. They'll have laid the foundation for a more competitive and exciting season ahead. Arsenal could receive £17 million transfer boost to fuel dream move for Real Madrid star. As the summer transfer window enters its final stretch, Arsenal still has hopes of landing a 7th signing, but it all hinges on sporting director Andrea Berta successfully negotiating several key player exits in time. According to Football.London, talks are ongoing with Stuttgart over potential deal for Fabio Vieira. However, Arsenal isn't exactly in a strong bargaining position. With limited interest in many of their fringe players and growing pressure to offload them quickly, the club is taking a cautious approach. Vieira is one of several names left out of the squad for Sunday's match at Old Trafford, alongside Albert Sambi Lokonga, Jakub Kiwior, Karl Hein, Alexander Zinchenko, and Reiss Nelson. Leandro Trossard was also absent from the starting 11, with Noni Madueke filling in for Gabriel Martinelli. Of all the potential outgoings, Vieira appears closest to a departure. The Athletic reports that discussions with Stuttgart are centered around a loan deal with a mandatory buy clause, triggered if the Portuguese midfielder hits certain performance targets. Both sides are believed to be negotiating a fee in the region of £17 million. While Arsenal initially hoped to recoup a larger portion of the £30 million they paid to Porto 3 years ago, The Sun suggests they've lowered their valuation to £25 million. Even so, Stuttgart are reportedly pushing for a £17 million total package, including add-ons, and are ready to explore other targets if Arsenal holds out for more. With the Bundesliga side needing to replace Enzo Millot, who was sold to Al Ahly earlier this month, time is of the essence. For Arsenal, every outgoing deal now has strategic weight. Offloading Vieira and other fringe players could free up the financial room to make a bold final move, and there's growing speculation that signing a top-tier left winger, such as Real Madrid's Rodrigo, would be the dream scenario. But let's be clear, that kind of blockbuster move would only be possible if Arsenal clears significant wages and generates a sizable income from sales. Vieira, while not among the club's top assets, still represents one of the few players who could bring in a meaningful fee before the deadline. The next few days could define Arsenal's entire summer strategy, and whether they remain just contenders, or make the leap to title challengers with one final statement signing. A successful deal for Vieira could trigger a domino effect, with Arsenal poised to accelerate other outgoings once the first major sale is confirmed. Zinchenko and Kiwior, in particular, have attracted interest from both Premier League and European clubs. Although no formal offers have yet been lodged, their names continue to circulate in conversations among scouts and sporting directors across the continent. Reiss Nelson is another player on the radar of several English clubs, including Fulham, who are reportedly weighing up a late bid. With Arsenal now prioritising financial flexibility and streamlined squad depth, even once promising homegrown talents are being considered for sale, a sign of how determined the club is to reshape its roster. Behind the scenes, Andrea Berta is working with urgency. The sporting director is said to be balancing short-term transfer goals with the long-term vision set by Mikel Arteta. The manager remains keen on bringing in one more top-level attacker, especially someone who can provide versatility and consistent end product in wide areas, qualities Rodrigo would certainly offer. However, negotiating with Real Madrid won't be simple. The Spanish giants value the Brazilian winger highly, and Arsenal would likely need to put forward a compelling financial package to even open talks. That means every outgoing deal, from Vieira to potentially Trossard, directly affects the feasibility of such a high-profile move. The ripple effects of Arsenal's late window activity could extend beyond North London. Rivals like Manchester City, Liverpool, and Tottenham are closely monitoring the Gunners' moves, knowing that a strong finish in the market could shift the competitive landscape heading into the winter and beyond. Meanwhile, fans are watching with cautious optimism. While there's excitement about a potential marquee signing, there's also frustration over the lack of urgency in trimming the squad earlier in the window. Some question whether Arsenal left it too late to extract maximum value from players who have seen limited minutes under Arteta. Still, the next 10 days offer a narrow but meaningful window of opportunity. If Arsenal can successfully offload several fringe players, even at reduced fees, they'll be in a much stronger position to pull off a dream signing that could elevate their squad to a title contending level. It's now a race against time. Will Arsenal take decisive action, cash in smartly, and strike big before the deadline? Or will hesitation in the market leave them just short of their ambitions once again? The clock is ticking, and the stakes couldn't be higher.